So, hey, everybody, this is Jules. I'm so happy that you could join us today. I'm here to share an awesome update with everybody about the education curriculum. So, this is for the STEAM program for the Applied Advanced STEAM. STEAM is Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math program that we're developing here in the Twin Cities for local high school students. So, this will teach the students what they need to know in order to develop video games. So, this is 3D modeling, animation, a little bit of architecture so they know how to design the buildings, even some script writing, storyboarding, all the way into learning the Unreal Development Engine and some C++, some coding. So this is a robust program where the students, right, who come from families that make in Minnesota a median average of or a median of $31,000 a year if they're Black, $27,000 a year if they're Native, and prepare them for careers in not only the video game industry, but other STEAM careers as well, where they can make upwards of $72,000, $80,000 a year entry level without a college degree just by having these STEAM skills. And this is really huge and a big game changer. And it's a big part of the heart of what Seraph 7's Studios is. And so I'm so thankful to have with me today the team that is working on the curriculum and developing everything and helping me create partnerships in the Twin Cities community, partners in education design. And so that awesome team, they're actually retired administrators here from the state of Minnesota, and they excel in helping underestimated students also excel and just achieve so many fantastic things and kind of step into their own power and their own potential. So we have with us Dr. Janice Porter and Miss Marilyn Nelson, and I'm going to ask them a few questions. So the first question will be, what initially drew you to education? And we'll start with Miss Marilyn Nelson.
Well, I started my idea of working with special needs students with the senior high school project. And so that really pulls it all around about how important it is to start looking at what you can do in your life at the high school age. And so I worked with special needs students creating a daycare facility for them.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. And Dr. Janice Porter, what about you? What initially drew you to education?
Well, I always loved teaching. My nickname growing up, my grandfather gave me was Professor. And actually, he would call me Fessor. He dropped the professor and just said Fessor. That was my nickname. And so, whenever anything needed to be read or taught at home or at church, he would call me up to do it. And so, I just always have loved it. I went to college to get a degree in biology education. And so, I came out teaching biology. I just love seeing that light bulb moment come on in students as they really get something and understand it. So, I think my passion has always been teaching, helping students to succeed and move forward and to realize their own potential that comes out of them. And that's what makes me most happy. And that's why I just love education.
And you kind of lead me to a great question as you kind of talked about your family. So where's everybody from?
Well, I'm from Mississippi originally. I grew up in Macomb, Mississippi, in a small town called Progress, Mississippi. I went to college at HBCU Jackson State University. Woo-hoo, JSU.
Shout out to the
You know,
HBCUs. I'm a family rattler, proud rattler.
So I majored in biology education as my Bachelor of Science at Jackson State. And once I graduated, I was so fortunate to receive a fellowship to go on and get my master's. So I continued to get my master's in science for teaching at Jackson State University also. And I moved to Minnesota and worked in Minnesota education for, I don't know, 25 plus, almost 30 years. I received I received a master's actually from University of St. Mary's. I think it's St. Mary's University, right, Maryland? It's where I
Yes.
got my master's from. And it was as a specialist in education administration. And so when I first got into education in the administrative level, I realized I needed to have my admin degree to know what I'm doing if I'm going to lead people. So I got that from St. Mary's right there in Minneapolis. And then I went on to get my doctorate from Bethel University, and I have a K-12 doctorate in K-12 leadership, which honor my parents. That's why I went ahead and make sure I got that done because they wanted me to finish that. And both of them, they didn't live to see it, but I'm so excited. I completed it and I dedicated my doctorate to them.
That's absolutely amazing. And so Miss Marilyn, can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and your background?
Yes, I'm from a small town in north middle Minnesota, and I went to teaching. I worked on my teaching degree at Morehead State University in special education, and also completed some work in Winnipeg, Canada, when I was working for
Wow.
severely handicapped students. And then I also worked on my master's. I received that at Mankato State University, and then I went on and decided that I wanted to get involved in help creating a school for students who had dropped out and discouraged learners in our school district. And that became such a passion to me, and finding the right teachers to work with the students became such a passion to me. People would say, how do you know? My mentor used to say to me, how do you know a good teacher? And I always say, well, I grew up with 7 brothers and sisters. I was the third eldest. And so I had to learn how to get along with a lot of different types of personalities. And I always looked for the passion in their heart, to make them a good teacher, because if you don't have that, you can't become a good teacher. You can train them in any way you want, but you've got to have that heart. And so when I was at the alternative high school, then I went on to get my administration through Mankato as well, in my specialist degree in administration. And that's when Janice and I got connected together. We were able to connect and join forces to continue to grow our alternative high school in our school district to a large, successful center right now. And we're very proud of that.
Yes. Yeah. And if I can add to what Marilla was sharing, we both are very fortunate to have over 50 years combined of education experience, you know, both of us combined. So we have both been very fortunate to work in both general education, we have some special education background. We have K-12 elementary through high school background. We've worked in alternative ed, as she's saying, area learning center. I've worked in a charter school. And so we've had so much wonderful experience, and all the whole thing was just to help students be successful, earn their high school diploma, and just do so much better in life, have a better quality of life. So I'm excited about that. And we're very proud of that part of our career. We're able to help so many students earn their high school diploma and to go on to the next phase of their lives, whatever that happened to be, whether it was a 2 year or 4 year, whether it was VOTEC training, whatever it was, we helped them to make that connection and to navigate that path. That's what excites me also.
Right.
Man, and what you both just said was so powerful, and you actually led me to one of the questions that I get a lot. A lot of people ask me, where does the name Seraph 7 Studios come from? And so the name Seraph is short for seraphim, and that comes from the Bible, the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, and where it talks about in the year that King Uzziah died. And so in the year that King Uzziah died, Isaiah had this grand vision where he was taken up to heaven. And while he was in heaven, he saw these like angels that had the appearance of fire that had 6 wings, and they were flying around the throne of God, singing, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. And they sang with such passion and zeal that they shook the foundations of heaven, right? So Isaiah was like, what is going on? Okay, I am afraid. What is happening? And one of the seraphim saw that Isaiah was afraid. So he flew over to the living fire of heaven and pulled out one of the living coals and flew over to Isaiah and anointed Isaiah's lips. And from that, Isaiah got a sort of confidence. So when God said, "Who shall I send?" Isaiah said, "Here I am, Lord, send me." And what I get from that story and why I wanted to name my company after that is because it shows that one, the seraphim are super, super passionate and zealous about what they're doing and what their mission is, which is something
Mhm.
that I am. And then two, right, they have a certain insight and also a passion and understanding for helping other people find their calling and step into it with confidence and with power. And so those are basically what I do. So, I'm so passionate about putting out video games with characters that are black and brown that are positive heroes, right? So that our kids can actually play characters that don't have some level of moral deficiency, that aren't villains, that aren't gangsters or mobsters, but just the pure good guy, slaying the dragon, saving the villagers, being positive so they can see themselves
Uh-huh.
in that light. And so others outside our community can see us in that light. But also helping these kids, right, improve their own confidence and competency in STEM so they can step
Uh-huh.
into careers, right, and give them more economic power, right?
Yeah.
Help them be mentors now in the community and really step up as leaders. And so, that's big with me. And so with that piece, that's where I developed, the idea for the Applied Advanced STEAM course. And my initial thought would be like a 1 year advanced program for high school students to kind of teach them these skills. And so I reached out to partners in education design to help me. So now my question for you guys are, what were your thoughts when this video game company was like, help me design, this program to teach these kids how to code? And we'll start with Dr. Janice Porter. What did you think?
Mine was, oh my goodness, I haven't been a science teacher. I taught science, so I have experience in that, but I hadn't played a lot of video games, we have experience developing curriculum and all those things, adopting curriculum. But I'm like, oh, I was excited. First of all, after I did this, like, okay, so I was excited, but I had to then say, okay, then I can do this. So what do I need to do first? I need to educate myself first. First more about the video gaming industry first. And so actually, I also have been playing little video games since then too. I need to add that
Yes.
in. I've been playing
PlayStation
You're
4.
ahead of me now. You're ahead of me.
to get more experience, to get immersed in this learning opportunity.
Yeah, and Miss Marilyn, what about you? What did you think when you were approached to help this video game company design this program?
Well, in education, we're always trying to find the right hook to catch kids. And, it's not always the mundane, you need to fix this, you need to do this, you need to stay in our box. This is the way you learn. And I was just amazed that you had found something that all of the students would be really attracted to, and it had so many dimensions to it. We could go in a lot of different directions with STEAM, with music, with gaming, with a lot of different areas. And so I think it would be really attractive to a lot of students. And I love the empowerment that you do for young women and young males, and that the appropriateness of the diversity, which is way needed, especially during this time in our lives, in our city. And so I'm really grateful that you've got us all involved in this. This is great.
Yeah.
It's
And
fantastic.
can I add, Jules, I add to what Marilyn shared? I think also after I got so excited and calmed down, I realized this is an area where so many of our students, especially when we talk about our students who are African American, our BIPOC students, Black, Indigenous people of color, that career is just so lacking. So that's why I really got excited about it, because even when we were working as educators and teachers, I actually saw when students graduating, I was really trying to push them toward those type of careers. But for some reason they shied back. They feel they didn't have the skills or the knowledge or the ability to do science, math, and engineering, and technology. And some of them just felt math is just too hard. But knowing as administrator, we know where the money and the careers that can just really help them do so well in it. So I'm excited to be able to now empower another generation, the next generation of BIPOC students to really help them have a much better quality of life by learning some things that we know that they are brilliant. We know that they are all gifted, and there's so much talent within them. So I think we have an opportunity as we develop this program, this curriculum, to pull all that out to help them really to blossom and to flourish into who they really are, and to have a better quality of life, and even change the next generation. Even their families is going to
Exactly.
down. So
That's
I'm
what
excited.
Janice and I saw. That's right. That's what Janice and I saw when we worked with our students. We were working with students and helping them graduate from high school, and it was the first generation. And we saw how powerful that was, and how ongoing it is.
Yes.
We still have relationships with our students that they're now on Facebook, reaching out to us and saying, I told my child, you stay in school. There's different avenues. We were taught by Janice and Marilyn, you go in different directions, but it doesn't matter. You get to the same endpoint, and you're going to be a successful, happy person.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of answered one of my questions, which is, what are you most excited about? So now I have a different question for you. So one of the things that, that just kind of blew my mind, it just really expanded my own idea of what this program could be, is when you guys took my program to being a 1 year idea, and you expanded it to being an idea for at least 3 years, but also engaged. So for like 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, but also engaging, the ninth graders as like a summer camp. And I was just like, wow. And so you made it, so much much more robust so that the students can have a deeper dive into each of the topics with the curriculum. But also, I think you added on like an individual learning plan so that it's flexible to meet the needs of each individual student. So I just wanted to know if you guys could talk a little bit more on that and how that idea came about, and just kind of why you think that, you know, the 3-year plan is a much better or better for the students than the 1-year idea.
Well, education should be prescriptive for individuals. We know that we need to grow students, and we have so many educators and so much material and so much to offer to our students, but we also always have to look at the individual student too and find out where they are at a certain point, and then work with them in partnership to try to help them grow into what they would like to be. And so we believe that a big portion of what we're developing should be exploration. It should be, try this out, that's okay. Try that out, try this out too. But being able to experiment with things, we all know we don't know things right away, and it's all evolution. And so we want to be able to expose our students to so many things that they may not be able to be exposed to and never thought that they could be involved with, especially in the gaming and all of the wonderful technology that it's included with it.
Yes. And you know, Jules, we were looking at what it is that Seraph 7 really wanted to do. You talked about students learning how to use gaming development engines and other computer programs to develop console platform. You know, I had to look at, okay, what is the console platform? Like the PlayStation, Xbox, and all that. And so we know that a more comprehensive program would be needed for students to gain all those skills to be able to do that, you know, and to lead into a career and then on to college, the next step. And so we know that they would need some time to be immersed into a program, as Marilyn was saying, but also we talked about the continuing learning plan, the individual learning plan. We talked about having mentors and coaches from those professions to mentor and coach the students. We talked about having a learning center where they can come, you know, and to receive that help. We talked about having advisors in addition to just mentors and coaches, but also advisors. We were trying to build some support and scaffold around the students so they would be successful regardless. And so we knew 1 year, ninth grade would be the introduction, but they need to be able to carry their own because there's so much to learn in STEM, whether they or STEM or in STEAM, whether they would be excited about science or technology or engineering or math or art. Some may be interested in one component, some two, some three, but what will be needed to, what will they need? And they would have to learn all those kind of things. So we were trying to, we are working as we keep doing best practice, our study, looking at 21st century skills embedded. What do the students really need to be successful? So they need more than 1 year. So ninth grade would be the introduction, exploration years, Marilyn was saying. And then 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, we're building from there as we go forward.
Yes, and we're looking at partners in those mentors so that
Yes.
we can provide real world pathways
Yes.
to careers with different partners in technology and in any area around in our community. Right now, it's really, people know what hybrid is, and we are looking at that as that's certainly an area that some of our students would want to choose to do more of an online or have a variety of ways to learn. And so because of that, we're saying, hey, why don't we create a hybrid school? So we could have a menu of pathways that students can work on their interests and
Yes.
move towards a career with these partners.
Yes. And you know, Jules, you were sharing earlier that the lack of BIPOC students in that STEAM industry. So we also realize that more exposure and more experience will be needed from that 9, 10, 11, 12th grade. That was why we saw a need to have multiple years for students to be in an educational program. Yeah.
Yes, and we're looking at delivering it in many different ways, like camps and clubs and in school and online.
Yes.
So a variety of ways to do it for the students.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both so much. I feel like, you know, Not only do I have the right team here, but I have a team that's really invested in the success of the students, which is really, the whole goal here of my program and of my vision to kind of create an army of change makers. And whether they want to go into video gaming or whether they want to work for 3M or whether they want to become an architect, right? That they've gotten that exposure through this program and hopefully an interview, with an awesome company at the end of this process.
That's
So
exactly right, because internship is a huge part of that. We want
Yes.
internships. And I just want to say that as we look at the academic piece, Marilyn and I are so used to addressing the needs of the whole child, all the academic needs, the social emotional needs also, but we're also really embedding 21st century skills, the creativity, being innovative, communication, collaboration skills that they need, critical thinking, problem solving, and soft skills, which is a huge need. So all that we're looking at embedding for our students in this program. So we're excited to work with Sarah 7 Studio. Thank you for the
Yeah,
opportunity.
thank you.
Yes,
so
we're
excited
very
to have you.
excited.
Well, thank you so much for being here and thank you everybody for listening.
Yes.
Have a great rest of your day.